Alright, what's up everybody? Back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Yes, we are back. You know what we're doing today. We're recapping the games from yesterday, February 28th, the last game of February. Yeah. So, we're gonna get into it, start this recap of yesterday, but first, before we do that, if you like it, hit the subscribe button, like, do notifications, do all that stuff. Really appreciate it if you would do it, helps out a lot. Yeah, let's get right into it with the games. First game was the TNT game, the Grizzlies, Lakers. Lakers, of course, without LeBron now for now and for the next few weeks. He's going to be reassessed in 2 weeks with that ankle injury or foot injury that he suffered that he re-aggravated on Sunday against the Mavericks. Very tough for the Lakers. I'm going to do a short about it actually later. But yeah, it was a good game to start actually. Lakers are coming in with some fire. Anthony Davis, Dennis Schroeder, even Austin Reeves getting in a little bit in the first quarter. For Memphis, it was Xavier Tillman getting a lot of rebounds and doing a lot down low, but also the bench like Tyus Jones, Luke Kennard had a three at the end of the first. The Grizzlies led 26-22 after one. Going to the second quarter, Lakers start the second quarter on a 16-8 run, led by Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves. Lonnie Walker was coming in providing a lot of energy as well as some shot making ability. Desmond Bain scored all 8 of those points in that run for Memphis. The Lakers took the lead. And it was a back and forth end of the first half. Both teams going back and forth, hitting shots, doing stuff. The lead was going back and forth. It was a very good game. And then AD takes over kind of the last part of the first half with some shots, some passes, and some blocks as well. The Lakers lead 59-56 going into the second half. We go to the third quarter, and Ja Morant puts on an absolute show. He put up just 6 points in the first half. He has 28 third quarter points, a franchise record for the Grizzlies. 28 third quarter points, just insanity. Going to the rim, getting floaters, dunks, doing all his Ja Morant things. Also let a run. You're 77-77 with 3:45 left in the third after Austin Reeves hit a floater. Grizzlies led by Ja go on a 16-7 run to lead 93-84 after three. What a performance by Ja Morant. We go to the fourth quarter. Lakers are trying to keep in it. Lonnie Walker, AD, some of the role players like Malik Beasley and them are hitting shots, but the Grizzlies are just doing the Grizzlies things. Jaren Jackson dunking on people, doing good things. Desmond Bain getting to the rim. Tyus Jones getting into it. But the Lakers make a comeback. Lonnie Walker, AD, Malik Beasley. AD hit an and one to make it a 4-point game with 4:48 left. But then the Grizzlies score 8 straight points, led by Ja and Jaren. They take a 12-point lead, and that was basically it. The Grizzlies win 121-109, defeating the Lakers. Grizzlies shoot 46% from the field. They didn't shoot well from three. Grizzlies only hit 6 3-pointers in this game. The Lakers shot 44%, 38% from three. But the big thing, huge thing, turnovers. The Lakers had 26 turnovers in this game. Grizzlies had just 6. And a lot of them weren't even the Grizzlies forcing. Lakers just did a lot of overpassing, a lot of passes that went out of bounds and stuff like that. A lot of just forced things. That led to those 26 turnovers. That's bad. You cannot win a game if you had 26 turnovers. And Ja Morant put on an excellent performance. 39, 10, and 10. On 15 for 29 shooting. Didn't hit a 3-pointer in this game. Yeah, he was magnificent in that third quarter. Bringing a lot of energy, doing Ja Morant things. Xavier Tillman had a great game as well. 18 and 11. Jaren had 16, 7, and 4 blocks. Desmond Bain had 16 and 4 steals. For the Lakers, AD put on a great performance. AD had 28 and 19 with 5 blocks on 9 for 19 shooting. Hit 10 free throws. He was excellent in this game. He showed up. It was just the turnovers, man. Turnovers killed him. Lonnie Walker had 21 off the bench. Austin Reeves had 17 and 7 assists. Malik Beasley had 12, and Dennis Schroeder had 10 and 10 assists. But yeah, first loss for the Lakers. First game for the Lakers after this new post-LeBron injury is now a loss. Very tough one. They're still 12th in the West. Still only a game out of the play-in, but still very tough. That first one to be lost, but shout out to the Grizzlies for winning that game. The next game we had was the Bulls-Raptors, 2 teams fighting for the play-in in the Eastern Conference. Raptors are the 9 seed, Bulls the 11 seed. So both these teams definitely want to win this game. For the Bulls, Nikola Vucevic starts off really good, hitting some threes, getting to the free throw line in the first quarter. But the Raptors lead 24-23 after one. Go to the second quarter, OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam are playing really well in the second quarter. Passing the ball, getting, doing their little floater shots. OG hitting pull-ups. Both of them are doing really good. But the Bulls bench, guys like Kobe White, Andre Drummond, Alex Caruso, are helping out. Actually, Alex Caruso started this game. My bad. Um, but yeah, all those guys, the role players, doing really well. We go into halftime with the Raptors leading. Raptors down actually 46-44 to Chicago. We go to the third quarter. The Bulls start the third quarter on a 12-6 run led by Levine and Vucevic. To take an 8-point lead, but then Jakob Poeltl brings the Raptors back and scores a few straight buckets to keep this game close. And it's a very back and forth third quarter. The Bulls lead 72-70 after three, even though the Raptors bench playing really well. Chris Boucher, Gary Trent, who came off the bench in this game. Raptors are fully healthy. Fred VanVleet came back for this game after having another baby. Shout out to Fred VanVleet. The Bulls lead 72-70 going into the fourth quarter. Go to the fourth, and the Raptors bench is hitting threes. Chris Boucher, Gary Trent, all hitting threes, making this a good game. But the Bulls bench also keeping them in it. The Bulls took a lead with 8:33 left after Kobe White hit two free throws to lead 82-81. But from that point on, the Raptors go on a 12-2 run, led by Scotty Barnes and Pascal and Gary Trent. Trent OG topping it off to make it a 9-point lead. And yeah, the Bulls, just turnovers for the Bulls. The Raptors are one of the better teams in the league at forcing turnovers. And then missing shots. Nick Vucevic has some good threes that he missed. And then some steals, some missed shots. And the Raptors ultimately end up winning 104-98. The Raptors shoot 40% from the field. They hit 15 three-pointers as a team. The Bulls actually shot 52%. But turnovers, again, the Bulls had 19 turnovers as a team. A lot of them coming late in the game that really hurt them. And the Raptors also rebounding. The Raptors out-rebounded Chicago 47-35 and had 19 offensive rebounds. Pascal finished with 20 and 8 rebounds. Gary Trent off the bench had 19 points and 5 threes. OG had 17 and 8. Jakob Poeltl 14, 3 steals, 2 blocks. And Scotty had 11, 8, and 4 with 4 blocks. Fred VanVleet really struggled to shoot in this game. Fred VanVleet, 35 minutes, he hit 1 3-pointer. He shot 1 for 11, 1 for 9 from 3, but he had 9 assists and 6 rebounds. In this game, that really helped out Toronto. For Chicago, Vucevic had 23 points. Zach LaVine had 17. DeMar had just 13 on 5 for 11 shooting. Yeah, Ayo Dosunmu had 10. Andre Drummond had 10 rebounds. Yeah, didn't really get much help from Beverly. Caruso on the offensive end. Defense very solid, but on offense, it was kind of, and then again, turnovers and rebounds. What the Raptors really did in this game. The Raptors are almost back at 500. Raptors are 31-32. They're only a half game behind the Atlanta Hawks. And yeah, the Bulls lose this game. The Bulls fall now down to 1.5 games behind the Washington Wizards. Speaking of the Wizards and Hawks, they played against each other as well yesterday in Atlanta. Quinn Snyder's first game as the Atlanta Hawks head coach. The first quarter started by Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma. Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma combined to score 19 of the 27 first quarter points for Washington. Both of them playing really good. Kuzma against the rim, hitting pull-up jumpers. And Bradley Beal kind of did the same thing. It was 27-27 after one. We go to the second quarter, and Trae Young is really controlling the game in the second quarter. Trae Young is playing really good, finding his teammates, finding guys like Bogdanovich and Clint on the lob and Sadiq and on the wing. He's also getting his own, getting layups and getting to the free throw line like he always does. The Wizards made it a 1-point game. At one point, actually tied the game, 49-49. But then the Hawks go on an 18-8 run. They take a 56-52 lead into halftime. We come out in the third quarter, and Bradley Beal in the bench play really well. DeLon Wright, who's been playing very well recently for Washington, doing good. Daniel Gafford, Duncan, all this stuff. But the Hawks are hitting though. Hawks are playing really well. Jante hitting shots. Trae is kind of controlling the offense like he used to be. And the Hawks take a 10-point lead multiple times in this quarter. The Hawks lead 90-85 after 3. We go to the fourth quarter, and Bogdanovich and Clint Capella are leading the fourth quarter for Atlanta, making it a 9-point game. DeJounte hit a pull-up jumper to make it an 8-point game with 9:46 left, and then Sadiq Bey hit a 3-pointer with 8:15 left to make it an 8-point game as well. But then after that Sadiq Bey 3-pointer, the Wizards go on a 12-5 run, led by Bradley Beal, to make it a 1-point game. And then after that was a free throw battle. Trae Young, Daniel Gafford hitting some clutch free throws. Bradley Beal hitting some clutch jumpers. Bradley Beal hit a shot with 36 seconds left, made a pull-up jumper to make it a 4-point game. But then Trae Young comes back in the other end, hits a step-back 3 to make it a 1. But then Bradley Beal was driving floater with 8 seconds left to make it a 3-point game. And Trae Young misses a 3. Capella gets the offensive rebound. Trae Young gets a good look at a 3, but he just can't get it to go. And the Wizards win 119-116. Trae Young doesn't have the ice in his veins for 2 games in a row. For Washington, they shoot 49% from the field. The Hawks actually shot decent from 3. They took a lot of 3. They took 35 threes, made 13 of them. But yeah, it was just the Wizards, the clutch shooting, really. The last few minutes, Wizards were hitting shots in the clutch. Bradley Beal had probably his best game of the year. 37 points and 7 assists. 17 for 30 shooting. Only hit 1 3-pointer. He was working in the mid-range and getting to the rim. Kuzma had a great game as well, 28 points. He shot just 10 for 26. He was hitting. And then Daniel Gafford had 13 and 12 with 3 blocks with no Porzingis playing in this game. Danny Avdija also had 13 rebounds. He's a rebounding machine, apparently. And yeah, Beal and Kuzma are hitting clutch shots. For Atlanta, Trae Young had 31, 7 assists, couldn't hit the shot. Bogdanovich had 16. DeJounte had just 15 and 5 assists on 7 for 18 shooting. He was 1 for 6 from 3. DeAndre Hunter had 14. Clint Capella had 13 and 15, 3 blocks, 2 steals. He was doing really well in the paint. Sadiq Bey hit 4 threes, and then John Collins at 10. But yeah, the Hawks back to 500, 31-31. First loss under Quinn Snyder. But there are some things, they're getting a lot more 3-pointers, which I think they should be a high-volume 3-point shooting team because they got Trae Young. That takes a lot. DeJounte takes a lot out, but they also have the personnel kind of to take a lot of threes. They got Bogdanovich and Sadiq and AJ Griffin. John Collins can hit threes. They got the personnel. They can take a lot of 3-pointers. So that's what Quinn Snyder did in Utah. It was just a bunch of threes. So that's probably what's gonna happen to Atlanta. But I think Atlanta's got the personnel to make it happen. But yeah, good win from Washington and Beal and Kuzma. Next we have the Milwaukee Bucks, Brooklyn Nets playing against each other. Giannis is back for the Milwaukee Bucks after missing a game with a game or 2. I think. I don't fully remember. But yeah, Giannis came back for this game. The game started off with a tie. Started off tied at 11 early in the first, but then the Nets go on a 17-2 run led by Mikal Bridges, Spencer Dinwiddie, Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton even getting in on it. And the Nets go on a 17-2 run to take a 28-13 lead after a Dinwiddie 3-pointer. The Bucks try to keep it close, but the Nets, Dinwiddie is playing well. And the Nets lead 34-22 after 1. They were hitting a lot of threes, playing good basketball. We go to the second, and Giannis is leading the charge in the second quarter, dunking, but also finding his teammates like Javon Carter for 3-pointers, and to make it a single-digit game again. But, the Nets just keep doing it. Spencer, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, all hitting free throws, getting to the line, hitting threes, and the Nets lead 62-52 at halftime. Go to the third quarter, and Giannis starts good again. The Bucks start on a 12-2 run to tie the game after a Brook Lopez 3-pointer to tie the game at 64. But the Nets, they stay in it. Mikal Bridges had a point where he scored 10 straight in the third quarter. Mikal Bridges was going off in this game. He's been playing very, very well since he's got to Brooklyn. Yeah, he's been really good. But then the Brooklyn Nets bench. The Milwaukee Bucks bench brings him back. The Nets were up 8 points. But then the Bucks bench, led by Bobby and Chris Middleton, going an 18-4 run and take the lead, 91-85 after 3. Jrue Holiday also was in there as well, playing good. They scored 39 in the third. I scored 39-23. We go to the fourth, and Giannis and Chris Middleton kind of put this game away with the help of their teammates as well. But Giannis and Chris Middleton were the main guys hitting shots and actually passes. Chris Middleton was making nice passes in this game, and the Nets just didn't have enough. And the Bucks win 118-104, extending their win streak to 15 in a row. The Bucks shot 49% from the field, hit 14 3-pointers. They had 7 more assists Then Brooklyn, they also out rebounded Brooklyn 55-38 with 11 offensive rebounds. Giannis finished with 33, 15, and 4. He was great after the first quarter. He was amazing doing Giannis things. Chris Middleton had 18 and 6 assists as well. Six-man Chris Middleton. Jrue Holiday had 14, 8 assists. Brook Lopez had 13 and 10. And Javon Carter had 11 points as well. Great win from Milwaukee, a come from behind victory. But for Brooklyn, Mikal Bridges finished with 31 and 5 assists on 11 for 19 shooting. He's been magnificent ever since he's got to Brooklyn. He's turned into a completely different player. Spencer Dinwiddie had 26, 6, and 8 as well. Cam Johnson had 19. But yeah, didn't really get much from their bench. The Nets did. Like Royce O'Neal only made his final shot where it didn't matter. Cam Thomas didn't make a shot. He had 2 free throws. Daron Sharp came in for a little bit. Joe Harris and Seth Curry barely played in this game. Yeah, it's really they ran their starters most of the minutes. They really ran like a 7-man rotation. Brooklyn did, which is very interesting. But I guess so, you know. But a good win for Milwaukee. But the Nets played very well. Next, we don't have to spend too much time in this game. The Nuggets and Rockets. The Nuggets put up 41 in the first quarter. Jamal Murray had 16 first quarter points. He was doing good. It looked like he was about to have a big game. They led 41-30. But the Rockets bench are keeping him in this game. Tari Eason, Ty Washington, Josh Christopher were playing really well in the second quarter, trying to keep him in this game. But then Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. hitting for Denver. The Nuggets were up 10 points at one point in the second. And then they went on a 20-8 run to end the first half. They leading 74-54. We go to the third. Jokic, Murray, MPJ make it 24, and then they blow the game open, really, and they win 133-112. Yeah, Jamal Murray finished with 32, 4 and 6, 12 for 18 shooting, hit 5 threes. Looked like Bubble Jamal, just taking over this game. Looked like he was about to have a 50-piece, but he kind of slowed down because he didn't really need to play much in the second half. He played really well. Michael Porter Jr. has 17. Bruce Brown played well, 15 off the bench. And Nikola Jokic, though. Jokic, 14, 11, and 10. Now he's 100th career triple-double. He's the 6th player in NBA history with 100 triple-doubles for his career. He was amazing in this game. Only had 14. Didn't really need to do much in this game. And then KCP had 14 points as well. For the Rockets, Jalen Green returned after missing a lot of time. He only played 19 minutes. Has 17 points and 5 assists on 7 for 15 shooting. Tari Eason was great off the bench, 17 and 12. Who else? Kenyon Martin Jr. had 15. Deshaun Nix, who started in this game, 14 and 5 assists. Ty Washington had 12, and Josh Christopher had 11. Alper Şengün had just 7 points, 8 assists. He hasn't been great the last few games. After having a great stretch in the middle of the season, but he hasn't been playing that well recently. He's been getting benched a little bit, which doesn't make sense. But it's the Rockets. The Rockets suck. The Rockets are on a 10-game losing streak now. They're 13 and 48. They suck, man. Everything about them just sucks. The Nuggets, 44 wins, top team in the West still. Next, we have the Kings and the Thunder. This game, no De'Aaron Fox in this game for Sacramento. Still no Shea for OKC. So both of these teams had to, find other ways to score. For Sacramento, there's Kevin Huerter and Davion Mitchell, who started in this game, actually. Starting it off well for the first quarter for the Kings. A very high-scoring first quarter. Both teams were not playing defense. The Kings don't really play defense often. But, yeah, Sacramento got off to a great start in the game, led by Kevin Huerter, Sabonis, controlling everything. Davion Mitchell was playing really well. And the Kings lead 44-38 after one quarter. Dario Saric also played really well. Dario Saric has been playing pretty good after he's gotten to OKC. We go to the second quarter, and the Kings start off really well. Their bench, Trey Lyles gets in, and Harrison Barnes plays really well. And the Kings eventually take a 16-point lead at one point after Harrison Barnes free throws. But after that 16-point lead, the Thunder end the first half on an 18-7 run led by Lou Dort, Jalen Williams as well. And they cut the lead down 71-66 at halftime. We go to the third quarter, and the third quarter the Kings start really well. Kevin Huerter again, but then Harrison Barnes kicking in, and then Keegan Murray as well. Keegan Murray is super, super, super good. And they take a 17-point lead at one point after Harrison Barnes' three-pointer. But the Thunder again. The Thunder end the third quarter on a 15-4 run, led by Dario Saric, Trey Mann, and Aaron Wiggins. And they cut the lead down to 7, 93-87 going into the fourth quarter. We go to the fourth quarter, and the Thunder start the fourth on a 12-5 run led by Jalen Williams to tie the game at 98. And this game was very good in the fourth quarter. Both teams going back and forth, hitting shots. But the Kings, Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray really closed this game out. Both of the wings were hitting big shots. And the Kings win 123-117. The Kings shoot 52% from the field. They hit 15 threes. They had 34 assists to the Thunder's 28 assists. Thunder actually forced a lot of turnovers in this game as well, though. The Kings had 19 turnovers. That's also because they didn't really have their point guard. And De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter was playing point guard for a lot of it, which he actually played really well in it. But yeah, Kings ultimately just hit more shots. Harrison Barnes, 29 points and 9 rebounds at 8 for 13 shooting. He was great in this game. Looked like Dallas Harrison Barnes out there. Sabonis, 22, 13, and 9, doing his thing. Kevin Huerter, a 20 and 9 assists. Really good playmaking game from Kevin Huerter when he needed to. He shot 8 for 14. Keegan Murray had 13 and 10, and then Davion Mitchell had 15 for them. He provided a big spark for them as well. For OKC, Jalen Williams, 27, 5, and 8. He's great. Love him. Love Jalen Williams. Shot 9 for 16. Dario Saric had a great game, 21 and 8 off the bench. He's been very good ever since he got traded to OKC. As kind of like their backup center. Kenrich Williams had 11 and 5 steals. Lou Dort had 11. Aaron Wiggins had 10. Trey Mann had 10. Tough game for Josh Giddey. He had just 8, 6, and 5 on 4 for 10 shooting. Not a great game from him. But yeah, now OKC's lost 4 games in a row. They're down to the 13 seed. Very tough. After I predicted them to make the play-in, they have not won a game since All-Star. Also, because Shea hasn't been playing because he got hurt, which really sucks because OKC was bound to make a good run. But yeah, it's been the opposite for Sacramento. Sacramento's won all 4 of their games since All-Star break. They're 36 and 25. They now have a little bit of a cushion, a 2.5 or 3.5 game lead over Phoenix for that number 3 seed, and they're a game and a half still behind Memphis. But yeah, they've been very great ever since All-Star weekend, you know? After maybe some people think they would fall now with the Suns and the Clippers doing and the Mavericks doing what they're doing, but the Kings are right in there. The Kings are doing better than those teams, actually. You know? And speaking of the Mavericks, they played as well yesterday. The Indiana Pacers. Mavericks start off really good. Luka, the best first quarter scorer in the league, puts up 18 in the first quarter. They lead 33-31 after Indiana, Miles Turner, and Tyrese Halliburton, and the bench as well, play really well in the first quarter. We go to the second quarter, and the Pacers score the first 9 points of the second, led by T.J. McConnell, Bennedict Mathurin, and Jalen Smith as well. They take a 7-point lead. But Dallas fights back. You know, Christian Wood plays really well, and Tim Hardaway and Josh Green also knocking down some shots. And it's a very good game in the first half, very back and forth. No one really taking control. Aaron Nesmith had a little run where he scored 6 straight points to give him a 7-point lead. But yeah, the Tyrese Halliburton scores 6 of the last 9 points for Indiana. I don't know, 6 of the last 8 points. I'm sorry. 6 of the last 8 points for Indiana, including a deep 3-pointer to make it a 12-point game. They lead 69-59 after 2. We go to the third quarter, and it's Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton had an amazing third quarter, controlling the game. He scored or assisted on 23 of the 37 Indiana points. He was hitting floaters, getting to the rim, making passes like he always does for 3-pointers. He was playing really good, but then Luka was doing the same thing on the other end. Luka was playing really good in the third quarter, hitting step-back threes, getting to the rim, finding his teammates for open shooters. The bench more like Tim Hardaway and Reggie Bullock and them hitting shots. And the Pacers lead 106-98 after 3. They go to the fourth quarter. The Pacers got off to a good run. Start the fourth quarter. The Mavericks are down 11 with 6:11 left after a Bennedict Mathurin dunk. It's making an 11-point game, but then the Mavericks scored 10 straight points led by Luka. And then Reggie Bullock as well hitting the 3-pointer to make it a 1-point game. The last few minutes were really good. Tyrese Halliburton hit a free throw to make it a 1-point game. A lot of misses later. Kyrie missed, and Bullock missed. And then Kyrie gets blocked. Then Tim Hardaway Jr. gets a good open corner 3 to take a lead and barely hits the rim. Tyrese Halliburton hits 2 free throws to make it 124-120. Luka gets fouled on the other end, makes it a 2-point game. Then the Pacers come down. The Pacers, Andrew Nembhard gets fouled and misses both free throws. So the Mavericks get the ball, and Kyrie gets a good step back three, but he cannot hit it, and the Pacers win 124-122. Mavericks now 1-4 with the Kyrie and Luka pairing, and the only win was against the San Antonio Spurs. The Pacers shot 53% from the field. Mavericks shot 51%. Look at the numbers, like team stats. Both of these teams are very well suited against each other. Both these teams have very good stats against each other, very similar. Yeah, it was just come down to clutch shooting, and the Mavericks couldn't hit clutch shots. Tyrese had a great game, 32, 7, and 6 on 9 for 18 shooting. He was great in this game. Miles Turner had 24 and 7 with 4 blocks. Jordan Wara had 16, back-to-back good games for Jordan Wara off the bench. I like to see that. Aaron Nesmith had 14, Jalen Smith had 11, and Buddy Hield 10 points. Even though he had just 1 3, he had 7 free throws. For Dallas, Luka finished with 39, 8, and 6, doing Luka things. Kyrie, 16, 5, and 9 assists, 7 for 18 shooting, and didn't really show up in the fourth quarter. Or throughout the entire game, he was kind of really cold. He had just 16 points, which is very unlike him. But yeah, it was a Luka night, so maybe he thought, it was going to be Luka's time to go. But I don't know what it was, but Kyrie didn't really do much late in this game, even though he's the best fourth quarter scorer in the league. Tim Hardaway had 16, Christian Wood had 12, Reggie Bullock had 14. But yeah, the Mavericks are now back in the play-in, 32-31, 7th seed in the West. Doesn't matter now, no, because every team, they can win their next game and be back up to 5th. But yeah, Kyrie and Luka have only won 1 game together so far, which I don't know what it is. Very tough. Maybe it's just still getting used to playing each other. Maybe it's just the role players aren't really that good, but they need to figure something out. Yeah, good win from Indiana. They're trying to catch up to Chicago, and they did a good job today winning and Bulls losing, getting some help from Toronto. The next game we had the Spurs and the Jazz. Spurs coming in with their longest losing streak, 16 losses in a row for San Antonio. Start this game for the Jazz, Larry Markkinen and THT playing really well to start this game. For them, for the Spurs, it was Keldon Johnson, Zach Collins is playing really well. And then the bench, guys like Doug McDermott, Devontae Graham, Blake Wesley hitting shots. The Spurs lead 32-30 after 1. We go to the second quarter, and both teams go cold. Both teams cannot score in the second quarter. It's 18-18. The score in the second quarter. The Spurs led 50-48 at halftime. We go to the third quarter. Larry Markkinen starts off really good. Larry had 21 in the first half. He scored the first couple buckets of the third quarter. The Jazz started really good. The Jazz led by 10 at one point after Rudy Gay hit 3 free throws with 4:17 left in the third. But then the Spurs end the third quarter on a 13-5 run, led by Keldon Johnson and Devontae Graham and Jeremy Sohan on both ends, to make it a 2-point game going into the fourth quarter. We go to the fourth quarter, and the Spurs are playing really well. Jeremy Sohan is playing really well. But for the Jazz, it was Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn played really well. Chris Dunn had a stretch where he scored like 7 straight points for Utah. Nice to see him back in the league. He played really well, trying to give the Jazz lead, but then the Spurs, man, hitting shots. Blake Wesley, Doug McDermott, Devontae Graham hit 3 straight 3-pointers, and then Charles Bassey hit a shot to make it a 6-point lead. THT was hitting some clutch shots. He hit 2 straight 3-pointers after that to tie the game up. Then Keldon Johnson scored 9 of the last 10 for the Spurs, getting to the rim with his big body, getting to the rim, hitting floaters, hitting shots, and the Jazz just couldn't score. Larry Markkinen was getting guarded up by Jeremy Sohan, and the Spurs end their losing streak. They win 102-94. The streak is over. They shot 43% from the field. They forced 20 Utah turnovers, and they had 8 more assists than the Jazz. Keldon Johnson finished with 25 points on 12 for 19 shooting. Doug McDermott had 19 off the bench, hit 5 threes. Jeremy Sohan, 13, 6, and 6, playing really well on offense and defense. And Devontae Graham had 12, and then Charles Bassey had 10 boards in this game. But yeah, for Utah, Larry Markkinen had 28 and 10. He had 21 in the first half, had just 7 points. I think he had like 1 point in the fourth quarter. Shot 9 for 21. Jeremy Sohan playing great defense. THT had 16, 3 and 3 with 3 blocks. Chris Dunn had 11 off the bench. Walker Kessler had 10 and 15. And then Kelly Olynyk had 10 rebounds and hit all of his points from the free throw line. But yeah, the Jazz are now under 500, 31-32, ninth in the Western Conference. Yeah, I mean, you would assume they probably would have got a little bit worse since they traded away Conley, Beasley, Vanderbilt. But they still play really hard, you know. And then for San Antonio, they finally get a win, more of a morale win because they don't want to win games, but more of a morale win. And now they're a game and a half above the Rockets for the worst record. Or well, I guess I would say behind the Rockets for the worst record. Not that one. Next we have Portland, Golden State, big matchup, two teams in the play-in. Dame coming off his 71-point monster game, and it looked like something was going to happen again. The Blazers start this game amazing. They score 41 in the first quarter. Dame has 17, and it looked like he was about to have another 40 or 50 bomb. Yeah, it was looking scary for Golden State. Draymond came back in this game as well. Blazers lead 41-27 after the first. Go to the second. Jeremy Grant, Drew Eubanks take over the second quarter. Both of them playing really well. Yeah, and Klay Thompson's just missing. Klay Thompson, I think, shot like 1 for 10 in the first half. Jordan Poole was trying, but they didn't really get much consistent help. The Blazers lead 65-48 at halftime. We go to the third, and the Blazers have an 18-point lead at one point in the third quarter. They were up by 23 at one point in the second quarter as well. That was their largest lead. We got Portland led by 18 early after a Dame layup, with 9:25 in the third. But then the Golden State Warriors go on a run. Golden State Warriors outscore the Blazers from that point on 33-10 in the third quarter. The Blazers only have 17 third quarter points. It was led by Jordan Poole. Kevon Looney as well was playing really well. But then Klay Thompson starting to hit some shots. Jonathan Kuminga got in a little bit on it. And the Blazers all of a sudden went from up 23 to down 5 at the end of the third. We go to the fourth quarter. And Jordan Poole and the bench. Jordan Poole was amazing in this game, hitting shots when they needed it. But then the bench, guys like Dante DiVincenzo, Kuminga, and then we're hitting shots. And Portland just couldn't find theirs. And the Warriors come back and win 123-105. They shot 54% from the field, 40% from three. They had 8 more assists than Portland. They also rebounded Portland 46-33. Yeah, Jordan Poole finished with 29, 5, and 6. He was a huge spark plug in this game. Really needed it. Klay Thompson at 23 and 8 on 8 for 21 shooting. Dante DiVincenzo at 21 on 8 for 11 shooting. Hit 5 threes. He amazing the last few games. Jonathan Kuminga had 16 off the bench. Kevon Looney had 14 and 7, and then Draymond had 12, 9, and 8. 2 steals, 2 blocks. For Portland, Dame had finished with just 25 points and 7 assists. He got cold. Shot 9 for 21, 2 for 7 from 3. Jeremy Grant had a good game, 24 points. Even though he shot just 5 for 17, he hit 13 free throws. Jeremy Grant hits a lot of free throws. Matisse had 15, hit 5 threes. Love to see him hitting 3-pointers. Shane Sharp had 13 off the bench. And then Cam Reddish had 10. But yeah, not a great loss from Portland. They could have got to the play-in, I think, with this win. But now they're still 11th. But then the Warriors are now won 3 in a row. The Warriors are now the 5 seed in the West. Just like that, they're 5, 32 and 30. Doesn't matter? No, because they can lose their next game and fall down back to the play-in. But, yeah, very inspiring without Steph Curry to win 3 in a row. And he probably should be back very soon. So maybe the Warriors go on this run. I predicted the Warriors are going to finish in the top 6. So, yeah, maybe the Warriors are going to do something. And then we go to the final game of the day. Timberwolves Clippers on TNT. Both teams needing a win. Both teams coming in on with a little bit of losing streaks. Both teams needing wins. For the Clippers, Paul George started this game off very well, hitting shots, finding his teammates. The Clippers lead 33-26 after one, led by Paul George, and then Terrence Mann as well. Got in a little bit near the end of the first. We go to the second quarter, and the Wolves play very well. Naz Reid starts it off with the bench, him and Jordan McLaughlin. But then Rudy Gobert came back in this game, and Jaden McDaniels playing really, really well. And the Wolves outscored the Clippers 32-23 in the second. Clippers just can't really find any consistent offense. And the Wolves lead 58-56 at halftime. We go to the third quarter. Again, McDaniels and Anthony Edwards starts to show up. Anthony Edwards had a pretty bad shooting half again in this one. But yeah, McDaniels having probably one of the best games of the season for him. And Edwards as well, leading the third quarter, bringing the lead up to double figures at one point. Kawhi Leonard's trying to bring the Clippers back. He tries to get into Kawhi mode. But they just couldn't get really any consistent offense. And their defense has been very bad. as of recently. But the Clips did bring it back. Clippers were down 4 at one point, but then the Wolves end the third on a 9-2 run, and they lead 86-75 after 3. We go to the fourth quarter. Nick Batum and Norman Powell, the bench, tries to ignite something in the Clippers. They try to bring the Clips back in the fourth quarter. But Jaden McDaniels hit a huge 3 with 3 minutes left to make it a 9-point lead. And then Rudy Gobert, and Kyle Anderson as well, but Rudy Gobert getting a dunk with 23 seconds to kind of seal the game. And the Timberwolves win 108-101, ending their 3-game losing streak. And the Clippers now are on a 3-game losing streak. Minnesota shot 48% from the field. They forced 24 Clipper turnovers in this game as well. They had 14 steals, which is big. Jaden McDaniels had 20 on 8 for 12 shooting. He was great in this game. And 18, 4 and 3, 3 steals, 2 blocks. He shot 6 for 18, but showed up in the second half and played really good defense. Rudy has 16 and 7. Kyle Anderson 12 and 10. Naz Reid had 10 off the bench, and Taurean Prince had 10 off the bench as well. But for the Clippers, Paul George at 25, 6 and 3 on 10 for 21 shooting. Kawhi at 23, 5 and 5. Westbrook at 14, 7 and 10. Norman Powell at 13. Zubac at 12. But then, Eric Gordon played just 7 minutes in this game. Nick Batum hit 1 shot. But Terrence Mann didn't really do much after the first quarter. Marcus Morris is a starter still for some reason. Marcus Morris has done nothing this season and has been the starter. The Clippers just need to find something. Clippers need to find some consistency. They have so many players that it's an upside because you have so many players you can play, but it's also a downside because you have so many players that need to play that you kind of just trying to juggle around some minutes and trying to find different combinations that work. But yeah, they're 0-3 since Westbrook got to the team, which I don't think is his fault. It's just because he's been playing really well. I think Westbrook's been playing really well since he got to the Clippers. It's just the defense, man. The defense really fell off. Like, this was a top 5 defense early in the season at one point. The Clippers were the opposite. Clippers couldn't score at the start of the year, but their defense was keeping them in games and winning them games. But now, their defense has fallen off a cliff, and their offense has been good. It has gone through some cold stretches at one point, but yeah, the Clippers really need to figure something out. Consistent anything. And just maybe need a win to give them some confidence back. Because after 3 very tough losses in a row, very tough for them. They dropped down to the 6th seed in the West, which doesn't matter, but still. But yeah, the Minnesota back to 500, 32 and 32, 8 seed. The Western Conference is crazy. Western Conference is crazy. Literally every night something changes in the West. It is crazy, but love it. Love it. We're in March now. These games matter. These games matter a lot. Which, I love it, man. Love it. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you could, subscribe, like, notifications, do all the stuff like that. I'm also at Twitter at EverydayHoops10. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.